Yo, 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 it is good to see you, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Joppa. It has been a little while. There's some things going on. What an amazing few days it has been, my sweet Christmas. Thank you all so much for such an exciting, successful EA beginning. I genuinely cannot thank you enough. I do not have a speech written. I have not put together the right words yet. I don't really know what to say other than you all have made this so much better and greater than we anticipated would ever be the case. You have completely blown expectations out of the water. And we could not be more thankful. Could not thank you guys enough. And it seems like most of you are having a pretty good time. A pretty good time from what we can tell. I know a lot of us on the team have spent many hours over the last several days checking in on various streams, reading comments from the Steam community to our own Discord to various different communities. And it really does seem like, you guys are having a good time. So what more can you ask for than that, right? What more can you ask for? So I've got a lot to say on this, but before I get way down the rabbit hole, I want to just take a look at who is here with us. We've got Albatross and Black Fox. Welcome. Good to see you both. I think Albatross are the official first today, so grats to you, Albatross. We've got Unka, Grizzle, Primus, Grom, Let You Live, Vasher, I'm the CPT now, Ted, Beverage. Welcome to you all. Good to see you. Redbeard, and Redbeard with the 8 months sub. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate that. 8 months, man. Woo, that's crazy. Hijacks, welcome. Kazik, Salted Hash, Tobias, Jadion, Aylin, welcome to you all. And Caligon the Black, Limpin, Lord Smiter, good to see you. Eridos, welcome. Arthax, welcome. Good to see you all. Man, it is good to see you all. Feels like it's been a long time. I think it's been, what, like a week? Almost? Since we've hung out like this. Campfire Cat, welcome. Good to see you. Crit, good to see you as well. Torvius, welcome. Treyu, True Chaos, Otaladab. Apologize in advance if I'm butchering any of these names. You guys know how it goes. Skinbag, welcome. Welcome, welcome. JD on with the 5 gifted. Thank you so much, man. And congrats to those 5 gifted. Thank you for the ad blasting. What's up, Torvius? Virulent Tropism, welcome. Deslock, AK, good to see you. We've got Trexid with the raid. Thank you so much, Trexid, and welcome to all of you new faces. Welcome. I was catching a little bit of the Halner Cave stream earlier. Seemed like you guys were doing a pretty good job in there. Just liking what I was seeing. We've got Backup Crypt. Too Tired to Care, TT. TT, I was thinking of your monument in Mad Run the other day that we need to get that in soon. Here lies one who was too tired to care. Man, that's sweet, you know what I mean? That's going to be good. We've got Porkamix Drac. This game seems like my jam. I love old MMOs. Nice, Porkamix. That's awesome, man. Good to hear it. Drax says, right back at you, Joppa. Thanks for an amazing EA launch. I have been having a blast. Gorgeous world. Thank you so much, Drac. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Zaranactra, welcome. Krask, Pillord, welcome to you as well. Having so much fun. So grateful to be allowed a window into this period of development. Nice. 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 Porta Potty says, I am enjoying it. Excellent. Yeah, I think we're at 76% positive right now, Jiraki. It's pretty, it's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Isvirata, welcome. Good to see you. Roseanne, welcome. So much love for the Pantheon team. I'm reading here. I'm not reading all of it out loud, but it is so cool to see and read all of these amazing messages. Hey, Thick Slab, good to see you. J. Cole, welcome. Had an excellent weekend playing the EA. Fantastic. Joppa, we need all the servers to feel full like Black Moon. Is there a reason why alternate servers are opening up when the main one is only half full and Wild's End feels so empty, but it's so fun on my server, Veil of Azarus? Yes, I will talk about that in a little bit. As some of you are aware, we are having some performance issues on some of the highest pop servers like Black Moon. So that's kind of our priority number 1 right now, is figuring out and fixing those performance issues, so that the full pop servers can stay as full pop as they're meant to, and then the other servers can start filling up naturally. There's a little bit more to say too on kind of the automatic spinning up, the dynamic spinning up of servers as needed, that we're still working out some of the kinks of that, which again, as expected, when you kind of go full scale with something, you're going to see things and find things that you're not able to find otherwise. At least we weren't able to. So, but we're getting it tracked down. Arialis, loving EA, can't wait for improvements over time. They are coming. Thank you, Arialis. Shug, good to see you. Rourke, welcome. Jajuan, good to see you. We all said the game would get crushed in reviews. We were wrong and you were right. Well, I mean, let's be fair. I knew that was possible, you know? I knew it was possible. So I'm very thankful that we're seeing what we're seeing right now. And, you know, we need to, our job now is to keep doing the work to make sure those reviews stay high and keep trending up. LK Gier, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub, for the gifted sub. Appreciate that. Sir Skeeve, good to see you. Worn Out Plays, welcome. Hey, Coldfire, welcome. Yukial Mei Shins. Yukial Mei Shins. See, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to read that name in bits or if it's all like kind of one flow, and I'm just not. Hopefully that was close enough. Thank you for the cheers. Loving the game so far. Nice. Thank you, Nerview. What's up, Thick Slap? I think I already said hello to you, but hello again. Nagasaki in the house. Welcome. Fiage. Welcome. You need help running to Wild's End. Well, this is a good place to ask. Good place to ask for help. Hey, Tumadin, good to see you. Mox, welcome. Raydill, welcome. Man, oh man. Bottle Rocker, game so good already. Thank you. Thank you, Bottle Rocker. Yo, Joppa, I sent a little gift to your VR email address. Not sure if you got it or not. I will check. Thank you, Slash. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Make sure they're in Wild's. Can you give Wizards ports soon? They are coming soon. I was going to do a little, once I get through kind of quick intro here and just kind of seeing who all is with us, I'll give you guys a little hint at what kind of our current top 5, top 10 list is, what we're focused on right now. Let's see. Fluffy Wuffy, what is going on? Been a fun EA launch. Here y'all got pretty good sales. Hope it's true. It is true. It is true. Yeah, that first day, I mean, my goodness, that was amazing. The run was wild from Wild's End to AVP. Can't wait until those zones are filled up. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess there's room to say enjoy it now while you can. Being able to get as easily, I mean, granted, it's not so easy in certain spots, but yeah, it'll, you know, I mean, that's kind of the discussions we had internally. We even talked about that a little bit after the first couple of days as we were seeing like screenshots and people that were, you know, actually making the trek. And it's not, the point is not to make it impossible, you know? I don't want it to be impossible, but I definitely want it to feel like an adventure, to feel like you're really kind of gearing up to travel, and that sense of arrival. That's kind of what I'm hoping for, is once you finally make it to Avelia from Wild's End or make it to Sorhireth from Throne Fast, that you feel like you've arrived somewhere that's distant, you know what I mean? I've been grinding my cleric. My wife has wondered where I've been. Nice, Similin. Nice. Had to re-roll servers initially because the first server you picked had no population. Yeah, I've heard that from a few people. I'm not exactly sure yet what our plan is in terms of the current server count. We're still kind of evaluating. We'll probably do that over kind of this holiday stretch here, and then after the first of the year, we'll see about making some calls on that. If I had to give a rough estimate on PvP, we think in a month. I just had a conversation this morning, speaking of that top 5, top 10 list. Just had a conversation with Sam, our tech lead, that it's like a top 5 item for me. I really want to get a PvP server in. like at least one to start with. The plan is to have multiple with different rule sets. But just so you guys understand my motivation, number one, I'm a really big PvPer. I have been very careful not to let that cross-pollinate into the PvE design of the game. Pantheon is, first and foremost a PvE-driven game. But I've also said many times that I think a good PvE game, a good deep PvE game, is the foundation of an amazing PvP game. Especially an uncurated PvP experience, meaning, it's not battleground driven or arena driven or point driven. It's just existing in a shared world, a contended shared world with other players, and letting that person to person conflict be part of that experience. So while there are plans for, specific PvP rule sets, the goal, first of all, is just to get a PvP server open. And I'll tell you right now that it could be very Wild West, it could be, it will most likely, in fact, I'll say it'll most likely be a free-for-all PvP experience. There may not even be level restrictions. So fair warning, that first PvP server that rolls out, it's going to be intense. But that's kind of the point. Like, you know what you're signing up for before you get into it. There's not going to be a whole lot of GM interaction. It'll just kind of be what it is. And it'll be an interesting data point in and of itself, But the goal eventually is to have, level limits in place where, you have like a plus 10, minus 10 kind of range that you can engage with. You can't, go and blow up gray players. We also want to have like team-based PvP. Similar to like Sullen Zach from EQ. We want to have some permadeath PvP and things like that. But yeah. Hey, what's up, Scary Boy? Good to see you. Zeranactra, good to see you as well. Zeranactra says PvP will split focus and make balance a nightmare. I am not balancing for PvP. That's the extent of balance that will happen in PvP will be things like a blanket on a PvP server, blanket adjustments to like damage and healing for players. That's it. There's not going to be specific balancing done for this ability in PvE versus PvP. That's just not how it's going to be. Yep. Yeah, Jiraki, that's exactly right. That's part of the charm of classic PvP, like classic spirited PvP anyway. But that's why I said having a PvE foundation is so important, because in a classically spirited PvP environment, why would you roll something like a warrior or, and I'm thinking more in EQ terms. Our warrior and our classes in general are more capable, have a few more answers, than some of those like EQ era classes. But again, the point is you need warriors, you need healers, you need crowd control, you need these various things for PvE content. But on a PvP server, you have to factor in the PvP elements as well. So it's not always just running, 5-6 wizards or summoners. Hey, Joskar, good to see you. A bearded vet. Hey, Joppa, I noticed while fighting in a group as a cleric, using Ward of Light doesn't put you in combat. This is working as intended. I will definitely check. Got the yellow notepad. If you're new to the channel, I keep a yellow notepad, and the things that we discuss, the things you guys bring up in chat that I don't have an answer to or sound new or whatever, I always keep a note here. And it's kind of a running tab on all the things that we get to discuss together. It's really cool. It's really helpful. All right, I got to do some recognitions here. You guys are absolutely blowing this up. Let's see. All right, Meme Dude, Virus, Crast, Dazed, Sean, thank you guys for the follow. Thanks so much. Snoochie, Gridley, Wrecked Ralph, LK Jeremy, Zeranactra, The Big Brew, the banana corn. Nice. Yukial Massi. Wow. I'm just going to say Yuki. Yuki, thank you for the follow. Thank you all for the follows. Sir Skeeve, Wake and Play. Sinju, Gold Mind, Sayela, thank you all for the follows. Thanks for being here. Raydale, thank you so much for the sub as well. In the 7 months. You guys are awesome. LK Jeremy, thank you for the gifted sub. And thank you for the Prime sub as well. Sin Technola, Elgordafat, man, you guys are really making me work for these today. Thank you for the follows. These are some good names. Banehammer, X Data Wraith, J. Cole, Leg Locker, 10X Core. Thank you all for the follows. Thank you so much for being here. As an 88, EQ Monk V Shan. Nice. That's a nice, strong, nostalgic name. Verdict Asen, thank you so much for the Prime sub. Finn42, thank you as well for the Prime sub in the 3 months. Watch It Happens. Thank you for the follow. Thanks for being here. Telek Gaming, Tecmo, Supermandra, /8915, Captain Creamer Dad Box. Thank you for the follows. Thank you all for being here. Lithonial, Eeps, Scan4, Porcamix, Official Quakey, Belsavul, thank you for the follows. Keith P, thanks for the Prime sub. Psychosis Gaming, thank you for the Prime sub. Scan4 for the Prime as well. Thank you all so much. You guys are amazing. Goodness. Disco Shades, Neon Dragon, Looper 15, Synthel, Nearview 81, Mac Attack 404, Evil Ways, Slayhawk, Jack of Trades, BV, Fawkett, Rebellion, and Akorai. Thank you all for the follows. Thank you for being here. Butt Chunder with the Prime and the 6 months. Sinister Deeds with the 7 months. Thank you all so much. The Banana Corn with the Prime. Keith P with the Prime and the 3 months as well. My goodness. Thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Woo! Yeah, today all 340 names read. That's what we do on the stream, guys. That's kind of my intro, is I just literally read the name of everyone in chat, and it's great. It's a great time. It's a great time. I read your name right. Good. I think that's like 1 out of 300 that I got right today. So that's something. It is so good to have some fresh players in game. Did I forget Thick Slap? What? No. I see those 99 bits, Thick Slap. Thank you so much for that. Where's... Okay, now I'm caught up. Thank you. Yuki, thank you for all the bits as well. Aerialist, thank you for the 500 bits. Death to Gnomes with 100 bits. Oak Knower with 100 bits. Guys, thank you so much. Whew. Anitsu with the Prime sub. Happy post EA launch week. Thank you, Anitsu. Zombie Slicer, thank you so much for the Prime. And Erarum, thank you for the follow. What are we working on right now? What is our priority? So priority number 1 is figuring out our performance issue that we're having on some of the higher population servers. I can't express to you the intensity of the cringe-filled aching that I was experiencing watching some streams of people playing on Black Moon and having some of the performance they were having. We've narrowed down a few things that I think are going to make a substantial improvement. The plan this week, as of right now, and for those of you, again, new to the channel, new to kind of some of this communication and back and forth, this stream is meant to be kind of a very transparent point of contact between our development studio, the Pantheon, and what we're working on. You guys as the players, as the community. It's a feedback hub. It's an opportunity to discuss different aspects of the game, show off from time to time things that we're working on, that kind of thing. And but it's also, I want to make it clear that there are times when I will give certain timeframes, certain expectations for something like a patch or things like that, where those things would be subject to change. So what I'm about to give you is something that is subject to change, but I think I feel pretty confident about it in terms of the discussions I've had as early as this morning. And that is, we are definitely having a patch this week, and we might potentially have two. If we have two patches this week, the one that would happen sooner is one that is focused on trying to address some of these performance issues. There will be some content updates that come in with it. Itemization is a big one that I'm working on right now specifically. But there's, lots of other points of content and things that are being worked on. So that first patch would bring some of those changes in with it. But then the second patch, the one that we do either on Thursday or Friday of this week, that will be our last patch before Christmas. Some of us will continue to work next week, but we won't be having a patch until after the Christmas holiday, once we're kind of back. But that last patch this Thursday or Friday is meant to be the kind of the state that we want to leave things in before we take that patch break for that holiday stretch. So that patch is intended to try and shore up the rest of the itemization up, above level 20 into the higher levels of content that we have. It's also meant to kind of shore up some of the different pockets of NPC content, especially the higher level areas where the NPCs maybe didn't have updated ability sets or updated itemization, various things like that. So it should put everything in a really nice state, kind of leading up into this holiday stretch. Static Group Live, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome. I know we do have a few people that are level 20. Thank you all so much for the follows. Pyrat Rum, Yurt Freak, Corey H, Chaos Fury, the Panzar TV, Maddie, 1791, Respawn Pawn, Trexlight, Aristes. Thank you all so much for the follows. Saltil with the 10 gifted. Thank you so much, Saltil. Thank you. And Horace Grant with the resub. Thank you so much, Horace Grant. Only spent a few hours pre-EA, but y'all have come so far. I'm having a ton of fun. Thanks. Right on. Thank you. Liking the new itemization? Good. The Wrath guy, possibly, but we're not going to make any calls on that until after the first of the year. Any chance the content patch will include monk armor? There is quite a bit of monk gear in the game, but I think you're talking about like the new monk visuals. And no, the patch this week will not contain the new monk visual armor yet. Can I please yellow notepad rogue sneak? I don't need to yellow notepad rogue sneak. It is one of the most known kind of ability related situations that we have. So it is very known. There's probably a good discussion to have about that, honestly, at some point, because the reason that it seems broken has a little bit to do with the awareness and the concealment stat. And I think there's probably a lot of players that aren't super familiar or maybe even aware that exists, which I'm okay with. I mean, that's the kind of thing that you can learn over time or kind of pick up by community osmosis. But I think it would be good for us to have a little bit more of a maybe a tutorial or something that pops up when you stealth, because the effectiveness of your stealth is based on your level versus the NPC that you're in range of. Because that affects the baseline concealment level you have versus the awareness level of the NPC. There are items and there are buffs that can increase your concealment score and make your stealth more effective. But then there's also the aggro mechanics of the NPC in the fact that they can see, they can hear, and they can smell. And that's the part that I think, need to revisit a little bit, because I think the hearing and the smell aspect of things can make stealth sometimes, I don't know, seem like it's not functioning properly because it's not a super intuitive. It's not one of those like very clear continuations of a system that a lot of people are used to. And I think some of that nuance is actually kind of making it not feel very, very good. But it is known, and getting that feeling right is definitely pretty high on kind of the current class list. Feign Death as well. Feign Death is known. Feign Death is kind of in the same boat as Stealth, where it needs just some very specific focused tweaking. And the goal being to make it more reliable. And to make sure that like the information and what's happening when you're feigning death and when you're paying attention to what NPCs are doing and the timing of when they forget or things like that, to make sure that's all a little bit more clear. That's a great question, Meow. Why do the mobs get to smell us, but we don't get the ability to take a bath? Life, you know? Oh, you found that one, TT. Nice. Okay. So, question. Has it helped? Joppa, I have heard that there will be no maps at all ever, but people will just make their own eventually if you don't. Will that be okay then? So to clarify that, the plan is not to have no maps. The plan is not to have no maps. The plan is to have a overland, kind of illustrated overland map with a fog of war type system. And that fog of war system is not following you around on a dot, and everywhere your little dot moves, it kind of reveals it. The fog of war system is based more on discovering certain areas and locations on the map, which then illuminates that section of the map. So you can think of Avalia, for example, being a part of the map that is discovered. You can think of the Barrow Dark, where the Darkmer and the Ogres start, being a part of the map that's discovered, things like that. So the idea there is that not that you've got a GPS that's constantly telling you where you are, because a lot of the charm, and I love seeing this, and I've seen this. This is one of those things, right, where when you're making a classically inspired game or a classic-like, there's a lot of pressure for certain things, like maps, and that's totally understandable. It's one of the most like ingrained kind of muscle memory things where you just hit the M key when you get into the game because you expect to kind of get your bearings through a map. What I've loved seeing, even though I've seen a lot of criticism about that, or at the very least, some criticism, and then some people who are kind of shocked by it, didn't expect it, and aren't sure how they feel about it. But I'm seeing a lot of people who are starting to kind of enjoy that feeling of I'm being forced now to actually learn this world. It's a very similar, and I'll give you a great example. It may seem irrelevant or unrelated, but when I first started playing Escape from Tarkov, I, like most people, really struggled because there's no map. It's a first person shooter, but there's no like shot notifications. You can't see like where shots are coming from. There's no GPS, there's no map, there's no anything. I had third-party maps pulled up, but you have to learn like where the escape locations are in that game, and it takes a while. But after investing time playing it and learning the map, it felt so good. Like my connection to the world, my connection to the game was so strong because I had learned over time, like literally like instinct, where things were. So it's not that we're never going to have a map. It's just that the map is going to be, and yeah, there'll be third-party maps. People are going to make maps. They're going to spoil it all. Like, it's just how it goes, right? There's going to be maps. There's going to be like people are going to do all that stuff, and that's fine. But the goal is that you are incentivized and kind of in a way put in this world where you kind of have to get the hang of it by just being in it, moving around, finding things, getting lost. Getting lost feels like it's this negative kind of inert experience, but it's actually part of learning where you are. That feeling of I have no idea where I am, that's you actually starting to reach out for handholds. That's when things imprint on your mind, when you finally make a connection and you're like, oh, like that's it. Like that's the moment where you start making imprints and learning. Next time, I know exactly where I am because I was lost here. So. All right, sorry, I went for a long time on that. Let's see. Monty, I saw a question from you earlier. Are we using TSAA? I don't think so, but I could be wrong. I need to double check. I think we stopped using TSAA because it does all that ghosting, and I think we were using I don't know. I don't know what the other one's called. Is the summoner summon raft ability still planned for the future? Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Will monks always be a cloth wearing class? Yes, there will be some exceptions where there will be some leather items that monks are able to equip, but they're very like hand chosen, and they're all kind of like in like flavor wise very light leather, but the majority of monk armor will be cloth. But we do make a distinction between cloth and what we call martial cloth, which is like kind of the fighting cloth. So there is distinction there in terms of like the AC and other various aspects of it, how it's itemized and whatnot. Faux leather, yeah. Can we address keys? Guys, I do not have any new information on the keys. It's not my side of the house. I don't know. I know that they're working on it. I know that they're aware that it's like a really big deal to get those out as quickly as possible, but I just don't have an update on when. I'm sorry. Mr. Steel Rose, nice. Nice. Neapolitan Eagle, yes. At least the foundation of that system is in. So right now all NPCs have a sight, a sound, and a smell range. Where I think I would like for that to go, and we're still having some kind of internal discussions about it. Would love feedback on this topic from all of you. But where I think I'd like for it to go is instead of having kind of this trifecta of senses on each NPC, I'd kind of like to like have a standard type, which I think should be sight, and then have certain NPCs that are only sound and only smell oriented. And then have those NPCs. And I think that's even more in line with the Final Fantasy approach, as opposed to kind of the sense trifecta, if you will. But yeah. And yes, there will be those spells and items that there will be boots, for example, that have a warn effect to quiet your movement, so to speak, so that you can't be heard as easily. Or reduces the range, yeah, for sure. And buffs as well. Shaman actually already have a buff. It's not in the game, like it's not available in the game on a vendor or dropped, but it's a buff called Soundless, which actually removes like the sound that your character makes when you move. So we've already kind of experimented with that a little bit. Does this mean I need to bathe my character? I don't think we're going to go that far with it where you have to take baths and stuff. Minksta, any word on opening Blood Moon to or Black Moon to new characters? So we if the fixes and the improvements that we have coming out in a patch this week to try and target some of the performance issues we're seeing on the really high pop servers like Black Moon work, then yes, we will. Yep. Legit Tigle, thank you so much for the Prime. Thank you for the 5 months. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sanger, thank you for the Prime. Appreciate that. Hey, Oren. Good to see you, man. Thank you for the sub. Thank you, thank you. 8 months. Oren, I will never forget. I think I have the same memory every time that on that very first stream. Just hanging out with you in there. That was amazing. Appreciate that, man. I am doing well. Do we have a scheduled date for updates or patches being implemented this week? Not a set day, no. What I said at the beginning of the stream, and I'll repeat it, is that we may potentially have 2 patches this week. You can guarantee that there will be at least one patch this week, either on Thursday evening, Friday morning. That's kind of our final. That's our final patch before the Christmas kind of holiday time, where we are internally going to take some days, give our team a chance to kind of rest, recuperate a little bit. Obviously, just have that holiday time. So we're not going to patch the week of Christmas. And probably, I'm not sure when the first patch will be after that, but the goal with the patch this week is to kind of button everything up, address any of the pain points that we can, get some missing content and gaps filled in. That will be on Thursday or Friday this week. We might have a second patch earlier in the week, specifically targeted at addressing some of these performance issues with the high pop servers. The goal is going to be in the new year to get on a patch schedule. KHB, I mean, I would like to see the PvP server or servers like I'm trying to think of like a good conservative like estimate, but I would love to see them definitely in Q1 to give it like the broadest range. But I mean, I want to see them as soon as possible. So if there's any way that we can squeeze them, or at least squeeze one of them out there, as soon into the new year as we can. I mean, that's kind of the goal. That's my goal. Am I happy with how good the EA has started? Oh my goodness, yes. Yes. It has exceeded expectation. Has it been perfect? No. But it has exceeded expectation. I think it's so important that I think this step was so important. It's so important. And the more that I see unfolding in different communities and different places where Pantheon is discussed, the more important I think the step was, because one of the biggest issues that we've been having is how much online narrative in different places is shaping people's perspective of the game, and coloring perspective of the game. I have seen so many people in various places, largely on streams, where I'm on stream, someone's streaming Pantheon, people are coming in, and they'll say something to the effect of, "Wow, I thought this game was dead," wow, is this thing really still going? And I think the reason for that is because there's so much narrative out there that paints that kind of a picture. And I think getting Pantheon to a place where the people can start playing it more broadly is the best antidote to starting to reshape that narrative. And that has nothing to do with like valid criticisms or, places where the game obviously still needs a lot of work in certain areas and it's still a work in progress. But it's that pervading perspective that this game is vaporware and the game or the game has been abandoned or whatever. There's so many different colors and flavors of it that I think this was a really, really important step. If not kind of the primary reason in my mind why it needed to happen. And then what that does is it opens the door for what my hope for this EA period is, which is just that many more people able to play and experience the game, get excited about what it's on its way to becoming, and that kind of being their like their perspective. Because there's a ton of people that they haven't been following the game for a decade. They haven't seen the ups and downs. They haven't seen, all those things. They're just hearing about it, or they've only known about it for a short time. And, there's no reason for that whole narrative necessarily to kind of just, color that person's perspective. I mean, it's all there if they're curious, but most people, I think, I could be wrong, but most people, I think, are at the end of the day, they're just interested in a good game to play. Like they really don't care about all the, and that cuts both ways. Like people don't care how hard it's been for us. They don't care about our, specific struggles and whatever. In the same way that they don't necessarily count that against us either. It's just about what's the game. Like I'm coming home to play a game. I'm not interested in like drama and narrative and like, is the game good? If it's good, great. And so that's kind of where I have spoken a lot over the years. I've spoken a lot even on this stream about our road, how hard it's been, the realities of it, the missteps, the mistakes, the time that it's taken, all those things. I mean, there are bruises and we'll take them. And I've done that largely out of respect for and empathizing with the people that have been here for this long and have seen it and have been frustrated by it. But my tone now is going to start to change towards just focusing on the fact that this is a very real and very important concrete step towards getting us to the finish line. And that's where my focus is now. My focus now is on like over this next period of time from today to 1.0, like that's where the energy needs to go. The narrative and, the drama and things like that, it'll always be out there. It'll always try to be stirred up here and there as it can be. But what I think we're seeing and what I hope we continue to see in the EA launch and in the Steam reviews and in everything that's going on is that fundamentally there is a game here that people enjoy, that when people get the chance to play it, they get it, they're excited about it, and that's the point. That's what matters. Getting that game fleshed out, getting it done, and then making it as good as it can be. So, yes. So yeah, it's been great. The launch has been fantastic. It has exceeded expectations. It's amazing. Do you think it hinders people trying the game because of it being EA and the price point being what it is, especially for newer people finding out about the game? It might. Yeah. It might. I very much subscribe to the mindset of I'm willing to pay what I trust I will get out of it. That's a different mindset than other people have. Some people have a much more principled mindset about like early access products and things that are in development, stuff like that. And that's a totally different, totally valid, but just a different rubric that I use. My rubric is very much, I don't really care what the price is. If I feel like if it's something that I want to play and I feel like I'm going to get that amount of time out of it, then that's kind of how I make those decisions for the most part. So it absolutely could be, but I think it's I think it's I think it's reasonable. It's a reasonable price point, but I also understand that it's a price point that could limit the amount of people that jump in the same way that even the reality of even a single wipe before release can do the same thing. That's another one of those decisions that in and of itself can be limiting. Gnomes have to be in prior to PvP. That's a given. Yeah. And Ivanova, will we be increasing team size with EA money? It's not so. We need to. It is my absolute hope and expectation that we will. It is not. It's not my decision to make. So it's that whole side of the house, the finances and the hiring and all that kind of stuff. It's not. I don't know. When I say house, I don't mean literal house, and I also don't mean housing confirmed. But I know that this team needs to grow. That's what I know. Hijacks. I don't know what I expect to be the case is when we kind of reconvene after this little break here, that will be kind of at the top of the list of things that we're going to be discussing on a high level, is taking a look at what this EA period has done, taking a look at team. I think the most important thing we can do, I think the right thing for us to do would be to start with the team members that we've had to pause before we look at anything beyond that. So that's part of that's a discussion that it just hasn't happened yet internally. With the just in terms of like enough space between the EA launch and kind of where we're at now versus when we'll sit down to have those discussions. What kind of people do we need now? We could use a couple of gameplay programmers. We could use another designer, specifically someone that is focused on like the lore side of things, and just things like quest content and perception stuff. We could use, artists are always, you know what I mean? Artists. Oh, those artists. It's people that make things. The level 20 enchanter nuke is not doing as much damage as the level 1 nuke. Let me make a note. Thank you. Jayan is still around. Actually just had a rousing discussion with him about Eastern Plains, or AKA the Hills of Rulun, not that long ago. Oh, really? A streamer was saying there's a fix for the ghosted animations of some mobs. He said it was NVIDIA related and you can delete a file or something. Can you shed any light on that? I cannot. I have not heard that. Hopefully that's been posted somewhere. in Discord. Is slash target coming soon in game? And will raid bars be coming too? So hard as a healer to click on everyone. Yeah. There's some changes to the group frames, unit frames, and the addition of. I mean, I don't know that we'll be getting like raid frames, like true raid frames in the near term, like super near term. But there are some planned changes for the group unit frames to make them a lot more readable, a lot better. I'm a healer main, and I feel the pain of trying to target specific players in certain situations, especially like player pets and things like that. We're going to get all that cleaned up. Nearview says, might sound crazy, but I was more willing to pay for this EA knowing what it was. I really believe this should be the standard for EAs moving forward. Most EAs are basically almost finished games. I like that this EA is about being part of the real development of something. Yeah, that is absolutely right on. And I don't know, Nearview, if you've seen any of these streams before EA came around, but I've mentioned something very similar to that description many times. Like, I want this community right now to be filled with people who understand the state of the game, who understand that it's a work in progress, and who feel themselves to be a part of that process. By you guys playing this game, you guys, whether it's praise or criticism, whatever it is, that is all, as it flows to us in feedback, that is part of making this game better. It's an acknowledgement that, we have a vision for the game that we're making, but we also believe fully that players playing the game and being able to talk about what they like and don't like, what's good and what's not good, that is going to make this game much better. So I love that. I think that's really well said. Santa Pask, yep, heard. Thanks for all the follows, by the way. Simi, Desanctified 82, Santa Pask, Brick, Click 1134, A Wolf, Darth Gangsta, nice. Vicious Backpack, Queer Focused, Gorefang, Strebek TV, Kinthros, and Just 47. Thank you all for the follows. Thanks for being here. I see those bits. Slappy Badger, by the way, thank you for the 100 bits. And the note about the enchanter ability. Are you going to pay for at least some advertising before release? Many say the reason WoW eclipsed EQ so much is advertising. I don't know, Yuki. I definitely don't disagree that it's a good idea. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. I know that we won't, be doing advertising on anywhere near the scale that WoW did. Psychosis. That's a good question. Is there any lore based on how magic and such interacts with Terminus that's readable by the players? I don't know of any that explicitly is on that topic, like that topic specifically, but I know there's a lot that you can gain on the topic of how magic is related and how magic interacts with and functions in the world that you can just glean from all the different lore that exists. But there may be somebody in the community that's aware of something that's a little more focused on that front. Yeah, Darth, me too. It's been a huge win. I mean, this EA experience has been a huge win for that exactly. Like, what is the climate out there right now for classic-like MMOs? And seeing the response so far has been really encouraging. Really encouraging. What plant? No, there is not currently, not yet anyway. How do I feel personally about the group play? So Horace Grant asks, how do you feel personally about the group play, etc., just as a player outside of the perspective of a developer? On the whole, I am happy with it. I think the best steps forward we've taken recently have been the itemization changes we've made. So there's kind of these greater motivations, greater incentives to group up and go into more challenging places for that reason. And I think the game has felt on the whole more rewarding in that regard. It's taken good steps towards that. It's also one of our goals is to lean into a more challenging experience. And this is something that's a very fine line, and it's something that you'll see us continue to iterate and tweak as we go along. Because there are places where, the game is too challenging, like the curve is too high, especially for like pug groups or maybe smaller than full groups, things like that, when we're talking specifically about group play. And dialing that in, especially making sure there's a nice curve so that, we're ramping appropriately into high challenge, very small margins of error, type things. That would be, if I could identify one place where I would say this is an ongoing work in progress, it would be that, like really dialing that in more finely. But I think the group play is one of the strongest aspects of the game. I think it is. I think it is currently one of the strongest aspects of the game, and I think it stands to continue to become more and more so a kind of an outstanding feature of the game. One of the things, though, that we also need to do is make sure that for players who are wanting to solo, players who only solo, players... I talk about this a lot. I've talked about it a lot on stream. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. We are heavily influenced by EverQuest. EverQuest is the primary, I would say, influence that we have. And we're also, wanting to... if you haven't heard me make this analogy before, it's as if you went back to 2004 or maybe 2003, 2002, and you took the original trilogy of EverQuest and you took what Classic WoW initially was, and you carved a new path that embraced everything that made EverQuest great. You embraced some of the things that made World of Warcraft also in its original form great, but you forsook the things that took World of Warcraft down the path that ultimately divorced it from what made EverQuest great, and you carved a new third path. That's what I want Pantheon to be. That's what I want it to feel like. Have all the great aspects of EQ, really capture them. I mean, even some of the things that Vanguard, if you're familiar with Vanguard, even some of the things that Vanguard didn't bring with it from EverQuest, like identifying what those are, make sure that we have the things that made EQ great intact, identify some of the things that made that classic WoW so great as well, and then find that fusion and ultimately that evolution of a new kind of experience from that point. So that being said, to go back to the original question about, grouping and how it feels, this is a game that, like EverQuest, a lot of people forget how soloable EverQuest was. And so there's this interesting way of thinking of Pantheon as if it needs to be like impossible to solo. And that's not EverQuestian, like EverQuest had lots of paths, and granted, like there were exceptions. There were certain classes that could not solo or couldn't solo without being twinked to a certain point and whatnot. But there's a lot of solo ability in EverQuest. And it was a viable path to level. It was a viable leveling path. Soloing was. We're also not going with a quest hub driven game like World of Warcraft. We want to have lots of quests. We want to have many more quests than we have right now, but we don't want them to be linear, hub based. We don't want that to be kind of the way you progress your character primarily, leveling wise. And so that being the case, we want to find a good balance in Pantheon between solo progression and group progression. And right now, another critique that I have of our game as it stands right now is that I feel like the solo path is I feel like soloing does not feel viable enough. And I say that like some of you may hear me say that and kind of feel concerned, but it's not that I want to push soloing to where it's just kind of the de facto but I think right now it doesn't quite feel as viable as it needs to feel. So I want to bolster that a little bit. I want to pay good attention. We've got a lot of saturation of group content in the game. I think there's not enough interesting like soloable content in the game. I don't want the only like cool, fun, exciting humanoid NPCs to all be group based. I would love for there to be, pockets where there are soloable bandits, soloable goblins, things like that, where there's equally interesting things to do if you're by yourself or with just another player or two, as there are, these really cool group based areas. And I want to give a little bit of itemization love to those solo areas as well, where you're not going to come away with a weapon on par with something you get like in a group area or in a dungeon, but you may come away with an upgrade, if you get lucky while you're soloing. Like that's kind of a side of things that I want to see improved. So that's a big step forward, I think, for us, once we get that a little bit more dialed in. Send the soloers to their own server. No. That's part of having a full world, right? You've got people doing their own thing just as much as you've got people in groups. And the key is that they're both satisfied, that they're both feeling good, They're spawneering. Great example. As a general kind of public service announcement too, for those of you who are playing, one of the things that we don't have in yet is I don't know the best way to say it other than the power degradation that comes when you outlevel an NPC. Some of you are, I was watching, who was I watching? Was it Jonah? Streaming yesterday on a Necro, and he was fighting a green brittle bone caster. Group mob, he was fighting it solo. He killed it, but one of the things coming soon is that sense of when you outlevel something right now, that thing you're outleveling doesn't have any penalties towards you and you don't have any bonuses towards it really. So that's one of the things that's making you not feel like you're getting stronger as much as you would like as you're getting higher level, because a lot of the recent balancing that we've done, we've intentionally removed that part to just lock things in and dial things in very surgically. And now that's going to be coming back in soon. So one of the things that I think will help a lot of you feel very kind of good about where you've progressed as a character is when you start fighting things that are blue and green, light blue, green, and feeling kind of an innate strength against those things. Whereas right now you don't really feel that as much. It's not going to be like crazy. It's not going to be super exaggerated, but it's going to be enough where you'll notice it. Gibbon, no. What guards were these? Where was this? AVP, the AVP guards. Oh yeah, the Dimmoth guards. Yeah, they're probably pretty anemic. I'll make a note of that. Nice. Thanks for that. Yeah, I hear you, AK. That's heard. We have to. So what we can't do though is consolidate everything with the current performance issues we're seeing on our highest pop servers like Black Moon, and get into this kind of like chug fest, this hitching fest. What we need to do is make sure that we figure that out first, which we're working on right now. Once that's done, if we decide to consolidate, then we'll be able to do that, no problem. But it is. I do hear you. I do hear that. Yeah. Will we be making an available API for developers to make tools? We will do that eventually. Yes, that is the plan. Yeah. Yeah, we have already decided that is a go. I don't know when we're going to do that yet, but we will. Let's see. Kevin CSP, Dalmaris, thank you for the follows. Thanks so much for being here. Synthel with the Prime sub. Thank you, Synthel. Silent82, Pone Pants, Jalethal, Nugsy, Cletus, Gloomy, Inc., Hiker, thank you all so much for the follows. Thanks for being here. I see those bits, Verdicts, thanks. Oak Knower, thank you for the bits. Hey, Cletus, welcome. Will there be talents on classes? So the mastery system, some of you may have seen the mastery system in your inventory. When you open your inventory, I'm sorry, in your spellbook, mastery is envisioned as a hybrid between alternate advancement and like the WoW talent system. As you level up, as you gain experience, as you complete certain quests, you'll get mastery points as rewards. There are a few different ways that you can accumulate mastery points. Eventually, you will be able to spend those as you see fit on certain abilities and also certain general masteries for your character in general. Things like base run speed, for example, or how long you can hold your breath, things like that. That system, we have had that working before. It's currently disabled as we are focused right now on balance and also finishing class, kind of the class kits more completely. So mastery is working. It's in. It's tested. It's a proven system. It's a good system. It adds a lot of flavor to progression. All those things that we intended for it. But right now, we're going to get baseline class. We're going to get all the classes in and baseline class kits finished, feeling good before we bring mastery back. The Necropets get taunt. They will. Higher level versions of them will. Yeah. Teglayan, that's totally TBD, man. I will give you any info on that I can once I've got some. Hey, old timer, thank you so much. Thanks for the grats. Nice, Cletus. I'm glad to hear that, man. Can we look at maybe moving the cult? You mean you guys don't like having to run through the cultists and the brittle bones and the vipers? You don't enjoy that? What? That's funny. I love it. Give me more. I always want to be running through enemies. You know, I gotta say it. There was feedback that came in before EA launched. Hey, characters running out of that cave. They have to run right through those cultists, run right through those skeletons. We need to thin that out a little bit, or maybe consider it. I didn't do it, and I didn't do it on purpose. So there it is. There it is. Verdict Asen, thank you so much for the 1,100 bits. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Ratongas are my favorite race across all MMOs. Seeing the Drawn in Halnir's Cave is chef's kiss. I need more of them everywhere and would kill for them as a playable race in the future. Nice. I hear that a lot. I actually hear that a lot. Rakan are pretty they are a beloved race. So much so that hold on a second. So much so that there's an item which I will not tell you what it is or where it is, but there is at least an item in the game that gives you the Ratkin illusion. So we got a lot of people in here. We are at almost 600 viewers, which is a record for me many times over. So first of all, thank you all so much for being here. That's amazing. As a quick kind of, I guess, disclaimer about this channel, obviously we're going to be talking a lot of Pantheon development. There are going to be times where I'm going to show things. I will do my best to give spoiler warnings because I know for many of you, it's very important that you don't spoil anything, that you want to experience these things on your own. I will do my best to provide adequate spoiler warnings and whatnot as I can. But just be aware. Be aware. Are there plans for fancy clickies like that rat illusion item to be removed from the game later on, like Mana Stone? Dude, I gotta say, as much as I hated missing out on certain things, man, the EQ lore, the mystique that came from items that were discontinued along the way, I think we gotta have some things like that. I really do. Does Pantheon have any goals for evil classes races? Been playing and loving it. Thanks. Yes, we do. The thing that's missing right now is the faction element. And faction, we have factions in and working, but they're currently turned off. There's a lot of new people getting into the game. For a lot of people, it's kind of their first experience with this kind of game. The plan is to make the switch flip of factions more of kind of an announced moment. And the goal with that is to give everyone enough of a heads up to kind of saturate the community a little bit with a heads up of, hey, this is going to change, and kind of some of the things to expect, because it has been before in the past and will be again that ogres, for example, Darkmer, they will not be welcome in places like Avelia, which is why they have kind of their own secluded area to start. So that is coming. Eventually, these races will live on their own continents and have their own starting areas, you know, way far away. But for now, that's kind of how we're doing it. Applewhite, thank you so much for the tier 1 for the 4 months of support. Appreciate that. Verdict Asen with the 6 gifted rather. Thank you so much, Verdict. Really appreciate that. Aim1 Dicky, thank you so much for the prime. Gibbon Nobig, nice. Relimniance, thank you both for the follow. Thanks for being here. The Darkmer starting zone underwater. It is partly underwater. I should say it will be partly underwater. Let's get a... throw some plate mail on my warrior here. So this is one of those times, spoiler warning, if you don't want to see a couple of the new items, the new item models, then now's a good time to look away. State of the Warrior Resilience class mechanic. Yes, it doesn't do anything and it is going away. So pretend like this isn't even there. It just needs to be removed from the UI. It was a plan, but it's no longer a plan. I'm also, when I stream, typically I'm streaming from the, like inside the actual editor. So some of the choppiness, you might see a little bit of choppiness, some frame drops, things like that. It's because the performance inside of the editor is not the same as the client. Will Warriors be able to drop multiple banners at some point? Potentially. That is something we're looking at. So some of you have been asking, like, are we ever going to see weapons that are, like, have particle effects on them? Are we going to see weapons that actually work as light sources themselves? Yes. There will be lots of different weapons like that. I would call this flaming sword more of a kind of a test case. Ultimately, I'd like for the visuals of this to look a little bit better, a little bit cooler, but it is cool to get some things like this in that even now you guys can find and start showing off. There's also a let's see. I've seen some of you actually get this item. Just wanted to show off how it is. Any of you have the Dead Man's Spear? As of right now? Show of hands. Anybody found this? Primus? Funky Town? Nice. Oxnell? Good. All right, so next patch, you're going to want to show it off a little bit more, right? One of the things that I'm working on right now is going through and for our unique itemization, our rare itemization, giving it kind of some extra touches, some extra flair, things that just kind of set it apart so that when people see you in the world, I mean, that's kind of part of the magic, right? When people see you running around with a spear with skulls on it, they're like, hey, where'd you get that? Where can I get one of those? There are so many weapons in the game right now, so many items in the game that I was talking in one of the Discords last night that I think, like, that snowball hasn't happened yet, where there are so many things right under your noses. And that's one of the hardest parts about the dev side of it, is not wanting to be like, hey, look there, go there, do this. But as more people find things and that kind of osmosis starts to happen, news starts to spread of this item dropping here and this stuff there, that snowball starts to happen. And I think that's kind of, I don't know, where the world is really going to start to feel like that classic experience again, where you start to make game plans about, we're going to go here and try to get this, we're going to go here and see if we can find that. And once we get some more quest-oriented stuff in as well, where quests can kick off certain events or spawn certain NPCs or do certain things that allow for longer, more epic quest lines with really valuable items at the end of it. As an example, one of the most valued items, I would say, because a lot of people don't actually know this. Pantheon, you can climb in this game, but not many of you know that the plan is to be able to glide in this game as well, that there will be gliders in Pantheon. I've said it before, it's kind of a meme. It's out there in many different places, but as long as I'm here, as long as I'm in this role, we are not going to have flying mounts. We will never have flying mounts. I hate what flying mounts do to these worlds. We already have the climbing mechanic to allow you, vertical access, and gliding is different enough and constrained enough that it allows for some of those elements without giving you full vertical access control. But one of the most popular items that we've had in the game, previous testing, it's actually an ability. It's an ability representation of the glider, and it actually allowed you to glide in the game. That item is in the game even now, but it is through an epic quest line that so far no one that I'm aware of has pieced together kind of how to get it kind of all to work and figure out. So, will gliding use stamina and drop you when you run out? Yes, exactly like it's a very Breath of the Wild inspired mechanic in terms of how it feels and how it works. How brutal has it been testing for all the literal edge cases caused by adding climbing? It's really not been that bad. It's really not. We're very aware of kind of a short list of really important things that climbing needs to make it feel really good and reliable. It's really not been bad. I know. Hearing those horns. Just don't make the glider like Arcade, where it's pretty much flying mounts that can rise up from the... No. The gliders will be purely based on height and kind of that perpetual downward. It's very much like if you've ever played Breath of the Wild or seen anybody play it or whatever. We're modeling it very much after that same feel. Is that flaming sword in the game yet? It will be in the next patch. But I'm not telling you where. And it's not like any of you would be able to get it right now anyway. That's like it's a kind of an in your dreams thing for where most people are level wise right now. It is Paladin only, yes. Oh yeah, I wanted to show you guys the let's see. One sec. All right. Nixelplick, thanks so much for the prime. I see those bits. Dementor, thank you. Be nice to see a little more damage coming from pet skill attacks like Biting Wind. Also, sometimes when you log The pet's secondary weapon disappears and you have to delete it and resummon it to equip it again. Huh. Okay. The yellow notepad here. All right. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, for those of you that haven't seen... some of you haven't seen Charm in action yet. Might want to see it. It is a thing. It is coming. We got it really close to being ready in time, but didn't quite get it over the line, unfortunately. Oh, I can't cast this. I don't have mana on this character. Hey, buddy. And the way Charm works is obviously you charm the NPC, and then anything we on our end say is charm usable, we can define that. We can define what abilities NPCs have that are charm usable, and those abilities you will actually be able to use on their kind of on your charmed pet hotbar. So makes it a little more fun deciding what things you're going to charm, because some of it will have to do with what abilities it'll give you access to. Yeah, it'll be a huge game changer. Not only for I don't have aggro on, that's why it didn't attack me. Not only for enchanters, but the other classes that'll be able to use charm. Necromancers being able to charm undead, druids, potentially, maybe shaman, maybe. I'm potentially interested in shaman having a weaker version of charm animal than druids, but that's a maybe. But then also NPCs as well. So getting NPCs where they can, where they can charm players would be good. So Tyrion, thanks for the gift of sub. Thanks for the 2 gifted. Thank you. Backup crypt, yeah. They won't have limitation on what they can charm other than obviously what level the NPC is. They won't be able to charm it if it's too high level, and also NPCs that are immune to charm. But yeah, they won't have any limitation. Any way to make defensive target permanent or sticky? No, there actually is not a way to do that right now. But I'm gonna make a note. This game rips on Steam Deck. Are you playing it on Steam Deck? Have you been able to make it work? Nice, man. That's cool. Any plans to have the same quest lines or similar ones that are in Thronefast to also be in Wild's End? Yeah, there will be some that have some similarities. There's going to be a lot of new ones in Wild's End that are different. I've actually got a list of 12, I think 12, maybe 13 different new quests coming in Wild's End, quests that are a little bit more involved, that are brand new to that zone. Like in terms of like kind of a new style of quests, new styles of quests that we want to also get some more of those in Thronefast as well in AVP. But yeah, Wild's End will start differentiating itself on that front over the coming weeks. That's something we're working on right now, Skiach, yeah. 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 There should not be any Shaman Halfling NPCs. That should be an elf. Nice, Tanneroth. Good to hear. Adding summons to group windows list. Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah. That is a really big one. Very consistent. We'll call it a point of feedback. I can't target other player pets easily. I know. TT, I know. I spent some time with Kyle on that before EA launch, and he thinks he knows what the issue is, but we just didn't have time to get it all worked out. Can we put some AC on the Shaman Quested Cloak plus Wisdom item, please? Maybe. Cloaks are meant to function a little bit differently. Like, they're not... Cloaks aren't going to have... All cloaks aren't going to have AC, or very much AC if they do. They will eventually have graphics, yes. We have thoroughly discussed the plan for visible cloaks, yeah. Yep. We don't have them yet, but they will. Is the gear drop rate going to continue to be so high off regular group mobs? Okay, so this is interesting. It's the first time I'm hearing somebody say that the gear drop rate off of group mobs is high. Do you guys think it's high? Okay. Because I'll be honest, like I was literally this morning just kind of taking in a lot of what I've been seeing. My perception anyway has been that it's so low, it might not hurt to bump it up a little bit. So I was not expecting somebody, and when I say a little bit, I mean like genuinely like a little bit, like from like 0.5% chance or something like that. All right, we're gonna poll it. There's 600 people in here. We can poll this. Hold on. Should your voice be heard, chat? I should give a disclaimer. Stream polls don't decide things, but it is a good data point. Common drops do need to come up a good bit. Common drops were more rare than the uncommon drops, so that's something that we're going to change. There are cloth drops. There are. Bump it. Interesting. Quite a few for leave it. Okay. What do you mean, the sneaky Russian? What do you mean? Are you planning to take another look at the equipment system for classes? It feels kind of weird right now, especially for monks. Horace Grant, 100%, yeah. Yep. Which is why I started it off so low to begin with. The biggest change, I think, that's going to come with this upcoming patch and how things feel is specifically with weapons. I think the uncommon tier armor that's been dropping from the group NPCs has been really good. Like I've gotten a lot of really good feedback on that. The weapons have been, well, I mean, a lot of the weapons were just incomplete, like the weapon itemization. So that, I think that's going to feel a lot better. A lot better. Getting a couple of weapon upgrades as you go along and making sure that your weapons are, at least mildly moving along through that same kind of drop mechanism, I think is going to be good. But that's what I was saying earlier about the snowball that comes through players, just the general knowledge of like where rare drops are in the game. Like, for example, there is a rare drop blunt that has a bleed proc on it in the game right now that I have not seen anybody mention. And it's awesome. That is an awesome weapon for the level range. Once players find these things, I'm just excited to see like how that changes the landscape a little bit and starts to give direction. Like if you think back to like our EQ play, our EQ days, especially early days, or I mean like not super early days before you knew what things were, where things were, but you started to think about your playthrough in terms of the places you wanted to go to get certain items because you learned that those items existed. So it's going to be good. Okay. Where the sneaky Russian, where did you respond? Keep being told monks can't wear leather like in most other games. They're a weird cloth class. Maybe it's an information problem. Okay. Yeah. I'll clear that up. Monks are primarily a cloth class. Yes. There are a few exceptions for certain leather pieces that they can wear, but they're very handcrafted. Like they're made purposefully to be these kind of unique leather items that monks can wear. But on the whole, they are a cloth class. However, their cloth is a different tier, if you will, of cloth than caster cloth. So internally, we separate it as cloth and martial cloth. And martial cloth has like higher AC rating and different kind of stats. Typically. So yes, they are primarily a cloth class. Hopefully that clears it up. Maybe call it silk. Maybe. God's Fury, thanks for the prime. Game works great on Linux too. Thanks, Yuki. Nice. Cinemortai, thank you so much for the tier 1. Flintlock Pixel, Gus Nation, Mav Man, Boggin, Malkavia, Battle Sister. Nice name. Lockabar, Spectre, and Barman, thank you all for the follows. Oh. Andricius. No, that is not intended. That's the first time hearing that. Where's my, here we go. Thank you. If I was a blunt weapon with a bleed proc, where would I hide? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's where I'd hide. Any plans for weapon swapping in combat? Example being warriors being able to two-hand tank and then swap over to a sword and shield. Maybe. Maybe. We have had discussions. I'm not going to go too deep into this. This would be kind of a long, could potentially be a long rabbit hole, rabbit trail. But with the limited action set, there's certain aspects of that we've discussed potentially whether we should keep them as they are, tweak them, soften them, whatever, and that's one of them. Kind of that moment of being locked into combat based on, you know, what you've got at the ready, how that should affect things like switching abilities, switching gear. It's one of those areas, honestly, where, you know, I would say we're definitely open to feedback, though. I mean, ongoing feedback on how that feels and whatnot. Yeah. Can you get the spear that I have here? Yes. There's actually, I asked chat earlier, and there's a few people even in chat here that have already found this spear. It doesn't look like this yet. It will with the next patch. I've spruced up the visuals on it a little bit, but yes, it is in-game. Hey, Alano, good to see you. Thank you so much for the tier 1. No save points. Thank you for the prime. Appreciate that. Are there going to be different builds? Yeah. Yes. Well, yes and no. We're not a build-based or a spec-based game. The mastery system will potentially allow that to kind of... well, mastery will allow for some specialization, most likely. Very small amount, but some. But the primary form of differentiation comes in the limited action set. So the fact that if you have 2 shamans in a group, 2 shaman, then especially as you get higher level, your ability to have more of a healing focus loadout versus a more offensive debilitation focus loadout is possible because of the limited action set. Also, the way that you itemize. So because abilities... Not every ability, but eventually every ability will have those kind of sub-modifiers. Most of you've probably seen those on your abilities already, where it'll say like strength or stamina or whatever, these sub-modifiers from attributes. If you're a shaman who wants to really lean into DPS or debuffs, debilitation, things like that, you might itemize differently or have a different item set on you in a certain group or a raid situation versus a shaman that wants to be more healing focused. Motto Man, no. I don't have any new information on the buddy keys. I know that it's obviously a very important thing. I know that our people that are working on it, and as soon as we've got more information, we will shout it to the rooftops. I know a lot of you are waiting on those. Alana, thank you, by the way, for the 5 months. Thank you so much. Noob Source, thank you for the prime. Elder Thulu, thank you for the follow. Yeah, we've talked about a crafting signature, yeah. I think that'd be cool. Jabroni, I'll say this. Final Fantasy XIV proved that a controller layout can work actually really well in an MMO format. If Pantheon can be playable comfortably on a Steam Deck, I think that's a huge win. And I say that as someone who's 41 this year and already feel myself physically wanting to do more gaming without having to sit the whole time. So is it going to be like, are you going to be able to play at the same level as you would with mouse and keyboard? Probably not. But if we can get that working well, I think that's a huge win. Throne and Liberty has even better controller gameplay than Final Fantasy XIV. Okay. I had not heard that. I'm going to make a note of that too, because I want to check that out. Yeah, EQOA feels, that's right. You've programmed an Xbox controller? Okay. With Pantheon? Kuros, yes. Next patch, Shaman Hots will be stacking again. And there was much rejoicing. Chat-tastic, yeah. Need Before Greed is something that was high on the list that we just didn't get in time for EA, but yeah, it's coming. What's the thought process behind group mobs? Do you think making mobs harder, however times harder, is good? That's a big discussion. That's a big discussion. Blippler, item linking is in our top 10 list. Yeah. Why does Necro get no love with dot stacking? Well, they need to get some love. No save points. If controller gameplay gets good enough, maybe we would see Pantheon on consoles, not to mention PlayStation at least supports keyboard and mouse. Maybe. I mean, it's not been like a stated and direct goal. But I mean, if there's a path and it works, then I would consider that a win. Absolutely a win. Yeah. What's the plan for Rogue Illusion masks? The first Rogue Illusion mask that they get will be in the game. Again, unknown where or how or whatever. That's up to you to find. But will be in the game in the... If we do 2 patches this week, I would say by the patch we do at the end of the week. But by the patch we do at the end of the week, the first Illusion mask will be in. And there may be more. Depends on a few factors. But there are a couple of things that I really, really want to have in the game by the end of the week. One of them is at least 1 or 2 additional world bosses that exist in certain places for those of you who manage to get crazy high level over the coming days to set your sights on and give you a good challenge, aside from some of the ones that already exist in. And then some really cool clickies like that. Some well sought after clickies. J-Dub, I don't see Shaman moving to Chain. I don't see them moving to Chain. I don't know how similar I would say the Shaman and the Druid would be. I mean, they're both healers, so they share the same role, archetype. The Druid is going to be, I would say, more directly offensively focused, like have more direct damage than shaman do. Shamans are just built to be very over time, whether it's hots or dots, whereas the druid is meant to be more direct damage in their offensive flexing, if you will. The druid is going to be, they're going to fill in some buff gaps that the shaman have. So, for example, like Spirit of Wolf, I expect the shaman, my plan is for the shaman to get essentially the Spirit of Wolf, like the actual movement speed increasing line at higher level. It was the other way in EQ. Shaman got it earlier, and then druids got it later. But our shaman are a little bit different lore-wise, like identity-wise. So they'll get it, but they'll get it later, whereas the druid will get it earlier. So that'll be one of the big draws of the druid. Obviously, the druid will have their ports, and they'll have other like traits that they can imbue into players, essentially buffs that are just a little bit different than the shaman. I think we've got a nice tee up to have like good meaningful overlap, or gaps, I should say, between the two that make them both very, very valuable. I'm excited about the druid, guys. I know so many of you are too. I know it. I mean, who knows? Like, if the Christmas season goes well and I'm feeling rested, I mean, who knows? I might bust out a prototypical druid, get something flowing. We'll see. We'll see. The reason there's no bard talk is not because I'm not excited about bards, and in fact, maybe more excited about bards than anything else. It's because bards, our plans for bards might be too, they might be too aggressive. More so, and not even so much so as far as like the game mechanics, but more in like the literal like audio and just kind of the whole presentation of the bard. I mean, we've got an amazing audio team. Like, we've got an amazing audio team. I think you guys know that. You've experienced that. The head of the audio studio that we work with, PVL Audio, the head of the studio, Philip, I've had several conversations with him about the bard specifically. It is a class that is near and dear to him, and his vision for how to incorporate instrumentation, bardic instrumentation, into the sonic experience of the game is, like, if he can pull it off, it'll be one for the history books. I mean, it'll be a bard experience that is like so immersive. So that's part of what I think about when I think of like kind of biting off the bard is, you know, it's gonna be a big deal. It's gonna be really cool, really cool. And it flows back to that moment like an EQ where you played a lute for the first time as a bard and it played that little, it didn't do it all the time, or maybe it stopped doing it. I don't know. I just remember back in the day, like really back in the day, you'd play your lute and that little tune would play. Oh, it's funny. The Rift Bard? I've never played Rift. The Rift Bard, interesting. That's something I'll take a look at too. I want our bard. The plan is for our bard to be a hybrid between like the EQ and the Vanguard bard, with the ability to lean into the manual weaving and the song composition, kind of weave back and forth between those as you please. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. The question earlier, just to return to that, about like group NPCs versus non-group NPCs, I kind of said that's a really big discussion potentially, and then moved on from it. But it is one that we've talked about a lot. It's one that we've kind of gone over a lot, the reasoning behind it. And the primary thing that I try to get to the heart of is when you compare it to something like EverQuest. EverQuest didn't have elite NPCs; they just had a single NPC type. But for those of you that have played Pantheon now enough, you know that there's a lot more going on in combat than there was in EQ. Players have a lot more abilities. NPCs have more abilities. There's more things to react to. There's a lot more. And when you have 6 players together, potentially a full group, 1/4 of the servers just disappeared off the server list and can't log into them now. Hold on. Okay. I will let you guys know when I hear something. Okay. Tech's looking into it. Sorry, somebody just posted a screenshot of the Discord community conversation with 2 posts, one right above the other. One post said, "Give us maps." In the post right below it says, "Please don't give us a map." So, how is EA population-wise? It's going really well. It's going really, really well. That's another post that I just saw. It looks like right now we are at 2,300 players. Well, no, that's incorrect. The all-time peak, 2,300 players. Sorry. 2,300 players peak concurrent on Steam, and that's not including, the other. I don't even know what the ratio is. The other side of the population of players that's not on Steam. All on Black Moon. That's right. That's funny. How do I only have 2.3K followers? Well, I've only been streaming for a little while. This is my 8th month, I think. Lots of learning, just growing. But I'll tell you this, I just hit 700 viewers earlier. That is far and away the most I've ever had at one time. So I am just kind of strapped in for this ride. Obviously, Pantheon is, the main reason I'm streaming, even though I've always kind of wanted to do this. I've always loved interacting with you guys and just kind of seeing the game built like this. I think this is what open development now in these days can and should look like more. So we'll see. We'll just kind of see where things go from here. It's very cool. Very cool. By the way, Zevard, thank you for the Prime and the 2 months. Apologize if I've missed anybody as well. Raven CCA, thank you so much for the Prime. Chapel 9, thank you for the Prime as well. Anadak, with the Prime, the 8 months. Best to you, Joppa, and all the VR. Thank you so much, Anadak. Raven CCA with the follow. Castitatis Lilium, thank you for the follow. Hopefully I pronounced that properly. Militus Yoko is healing. Thank you for the follow. Criselli, Tobruk, the Assailer, Nazumi, Bolzik, thank you all for the follows. Thanks so much for being here. See if we've gotten any... Okay, they're working on it. They're restarting some things. Hang tight. Hang tight. Was there anything you really wanted to put into the game, but the powers that be wouldn't go along with? No, it's the game that we're making is very much a known entity internally. It's really just a matter of priority, timing, sequence, that kind of thing. I mean, if I think back far enough, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I would almost say PvP is the thing that has been the most like. Not that there's been pushback or anything, but it's been more like. I think having PvP servers is a priority. Like, that's how I view PvP. Not everybody agrees that it's a priority. Now, to be clear, when I say it's a priority, I don't mean it's the priority. I don't mean it's the most important thing. And I also, because it's important probably to say this over and over and over again, Pantheon is not first and foremost a PvP game. Pantheon is a PvE game. Our resources, our energy is all going into making it the best PvE experience it can be. But as I've always said, in my opinion, the best PvP games are the ones built on really strong, deep PvE foundations. And also, in my opinion, the best PvP experiences I've had are the ones that allow for PvP uncurated within that deep, rich PvE world. So when I say PvP is a priority, I think there are a lot of people interested in playing Pantheon that are interested in the PvP experience of playing that kind of a PvP experience in this kind of a PvE game. And so I'm really excited for the PvP community because it's understandably, it's uncurated. It's not, the plan is not to balance PvP surgically in a way that, we're constantly like straddling the PvP line. That's not going to happen. It's going to be messy. It's going to be imbalanced in certain ways, and it's going to be wonderful. So, there it is. Blippler, there's going to be different rule sets. The very first PvP server we put out will most likely be pretty just straight up free-for-all. We might have some level restriction in there, but maybe not. But it'll just be kind of that vanilla free-for-all PvP experience. But getting more sophisticated rules in place, level restrictions, other, constraints on certain servers. We'll definitely have like a team-based. I really want something like a Sullen Zek team-based, whether that's broken up by continent or broken up by, other factors, but there being like teams. I'd love to see a permadeath PvP server. I think those are so fun. And if, we'll do a few other potential tweaks of rule sets, but yeah. I don't think it's because you're a Gen X or Gen Dashi. I just think it's some people do, some people don't, for sure. How far away are raids? Let me think about that a little bit. It depends on how you define it. If you define a raid as a scripted, kind of certain amount of players or group designed content that is, has phases to it and kind of a production value. That will be further off than something like because I could drop a world boss in the game right now that, would take a lot of players, to take down, have good loot on it, and call it a raid, and it would be. It very much would be. Those kinds of things you could see very soon. Like in the next few months, there's a handful of what I would call major bosses in the game that are in dungeons, like Hell Near Cave for one. There are 2 major bosses that are not currently popping in Hell Near Cave, and then there's some other major bosses in some other parts of the world I'm not going to say yet, that will be kind of the next step towards like a true raid target. What I'm also planning to do is putting in, like I said earlier, even by the end of this week, I want to put in a couple of like world bosses that are very much just kind of like those epic tank and spank kind of just needing a lot of players to come and chew that health bar down, and have something really cool that they drop, and just have those kind of in some different places around the world. That's good data for us. It's fun for you guys. But really curated production value raids is going to be a little ways off still. And the first one will most likely be Sleepless, getting Sleepless back online once we get to that side of the continent. Yeah. Yeah, eBay boy. That is well said. Yep. Luffy MMOTV. Hey Joppa. Love the game. Great stuff. Nice. Thank you, Luffy. I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. Sorry, my dog. Hold on one sec, guys. All right. It is a Aussie poo. That's the kind of dog we have. Any plans for public events? Oh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, week, maybe 2 weeks ago on stream, I showed a very particular door, a very particular stone door, if you will, that is very meaningful in this world. And the opening of that stone door will be perhaps one of our first public world events. I likened it very similar, I likened it very, what's the next word? that phrase. I compared it to the Encourage event, I believe that's how you pronounce it, from World of Warcraft, where you had this essentially this server-wide kind of event where everyone can play a part in that happening. So that's really big, and There's a couple of other examples, and I'll just spoil one of them for you now because I think it's kind of funny, but it's also kind of cool. There's something like that where everyone has to work together to kind of figure out how to open this door. But there'll be other things like, and I'm saying it now, I'm putting it on record. If you see this in another game, I don't know of anything like this in another game. So if you see it in another game, you heard it here first. But I literally want something where it's a giant, massive, ancient button. I'm talking like Ocarina of Time button that you have to have enough players you have to have hundreds of players standing on it at one time to actually make it press. And then pressing that, causes something like that. So I want there to be a large variety of things that are like, some of them kind of almost like whimsical in a way, and then some very, specific and targeted and like riddles and things that you got to figure out. Crafters would obviously play a huge role in some of these events. Keepers with the perception system would play a huge role in those events, figuring out, kind of how to do things. So, but yes, the answer is yes. Absolutely. Okay. Are the servers good now, guys? Nice. Good. You're surprised that people seem to want PvP in this game, really? Huh. Yeah, see, this is the kind of stuff that we're going to be trying to fix with this next patch we put out, is this whole zones not connecting. It's no bueno. See, Finn, to me, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of PvP in this kind of game, is that it can stay PvE focused. That's what makes it so good. Like the kind of things you saw. Granted, EQ PvP, the only PvP I did in EQ was Sullen Zek. And Sullen Zek was like, to my memory anyway, the most uncurated of the, like the most hands-off PvP server. It was like the Wild West. And they said outright, like, hey, customer service on this server is going to be super limited. Like, it's kind of anything goes, guys, so play at your own risk. Like, that was kind of the mentality. And you saw things happen on that server that were just, they were just different. Just things that you don't see these days because everything is so curated and constrained and like kind of like dialed in. And to achieve the kind of PvP that a lot of games are trying to achieve, you need it, because otherwise it is exactly that, a Wild West that people, Now, will we need to have a server that has more constraints? I think so. And what I mean by constraints is like what's the level range with which you can attack another player, and maybe has like some policies on griefing and various things. We may have a server like that, because I think there are people who would like to dip their toe into PvP and Pantheon a little bit, but don't want to just get obliterated. But I think especially early days, our PvP servers will be pretty Wild Westian. Yeah. Xeranactor, that's exactly right. Hardcore mode, absolutely. Solo stuff found, yes. It'll be up to you guys, the community, to dictate whether we do like a hard mode for those things. Like, do you want at character select? Do you want to like hard lock yourself into a solo self found mode, which means like no one can trade with you? Like that is actually like turned off. But that's something we can absolutely consider. The giant Giga Chad raid chicken. The giant Giga Chad raid chicken raid boss win. It has to be a hard fight, and it can give you the ability to turn into a dire chicken.
お前はもう死んでいる。
I like it. I want it all. Bill shakes, yeah. Yep. The stacking issue with the bank is known. It's actually one of those things that seems really simple but in reality we got a little bit of work to do to make that work and work well, but it's definitely known. That's a huge QOL issue that we hear pretty consistently. Yeah. Heard. Sweeto, that's a good question. I'm gonna ask Neff about that. Or maybe if Neff's in chat, maybe he can speak to that. Hey, what's up, Zaid? How's PA launch been so far? Do you consider it a big success? I would say it has absolutely exceeded our expectations, yeah. And different people on the team had different specific expectations, but my expectation was, like, review-wise, I think we're sitting at a much better place than I thought we would be right now. I absolutely expected us to either be mixed. I mean, I was prepared for us to even go below that, potentially, just, preparing for the worst, I guess. But I did not expect us to be sitting where we are right now, review-wise. I did not expect us to have, personally, the current Steam concurrency that we're seeing. Because for me, the Steam move has always been about slow growth. I mean, we launched EA a week after PoE 2. We've got some like Ashes of Creation stuff that are coming up, if they haven't already. It's a noisy time. So I'm happy. I'm really happy with where we're sitting right now. And I do expect it to continue to just slowly grow. And I think that's good. And I think it gives the opportunity for a much larger range of people to be involved in what we're doing right now, which is, seeing this game move forward and be developed. And you guys have good insight into what's happening, what we're working on. There's lots of back and forth. It's a really good, healthy place for the game to be. So yeah, I'm super pleased. Super pleased. Yeah. First time playing Pantheon this weekend. I'm enjoying it and love the direction. Feels a lot like Dark Age of Camelot so far. Nice. Man, I got some good memories from Dark Age. The ASC. Considering WoW Classic just relaunched, I think it's doing great. Yeah. Make a note of that, Vicious. Will rogues ever get lock picking stuff to do? Huh? Lockpicking and pickpocketing. What's up, Tasty Graph? Welcome. Picklockening. Hey, Darkthaw. Good to see you. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. JW Gaming, oh yeah. New loot rolls is a really big part of the work I'm doing right now, specifically trying to flesh out the new itemization that you guys are experiencing right now in lower levels. Make sure that that's consistent all the way up, and then adding some additional like super rare stuff, making some of the rare items more unique. We showed off this spear earlier with the skulls and a couple of other items and more that I haven't shown, just to avoid spoilers. Darkthaw item linking is like in our top 10 list right now of things that need to get in the game. So yeah, it's coming soon. Crafting suggestion. I would love to be able to select the end item I want to create and have its components displayed on the right so I can go gather what I need and see progress. That's like one of those invaluable features with survival crafting games, yeah, where you can like, this is what I want to make. You can see like all the components that you need and then track, that you have them. I think that's a good idea. SK Epic Quest was one of the most memorable accomplishments in my video game career. Can't wait to see those in Terminus. Me too. Oh yeah. With as much as I've seen so many of you enjoy some of the longer quests that we have, even just already. Yeah. And all of the cool ways we have to make... I mean, can you imagine like how cool a Dire Lord epic weapon would be? All the intricate and specific ways we can tailor an item to be just like so powerful and meaningful for a Dire Lord specifically. The kind of stats and procs and warn effects and things that it can have. Oh, man. What kinds of abilities can we expect to see monks get at level 20 plus? So you're going to get abilities that allow you to interact with the gates, the rest of the gates, and kind of get a feel for what those gates as a whole are going to be about. Chi burn is a big one for me. Chi burn... Like, for me, the monk, it has to have chi burn. For those of you that don't know this, I'm a huge Naruto fan. I know. I just saw the viewer count cut in half. But I am. I can't deny what I am. And... if you're familiar with the Naruto series, there is a moment where Bushibrow, Guy Sensei, opens the 8th gate, the Gate of Death, and it's a death sentence, basically, but it increases his power to just unbelievable levels. There's something about that that's always kind of like stuck with me. And so chi burn is essentially that idea that you are essentially opening all of the gates that you have, and it puts you into this state where, your fists are flaming, you're doing incredible damage, but you're losing health the whole time, you're immune to healing, you're unable to be helped, essentially. It's kind of like locking yourself into this mode where you are going to basically reduce your life from full down to 1 HP, essentially. But while it's going, the damage that you're putting out is meant to be crazy. But it's meant to have huge risk to it as well, because obviously you risk pulling aggro, and if you get tapped, you're dead. So it's this really, really interesting mechanic that I'm excited to see, and I think will be a big part of cementing monks as what they're meant to be, which is a DPS focused class, like primarily a DPS class. So that's another thing that is coming. And man, I can't wait to see what Cody does with that, because Cody, our visual effects artist, which huge shout out to Cody for, all the beautiful visual effects that we've got in game that he's made. I said it internally to, I need, there's still a few more people I need to message, but internally speaking, like on this team, this game would not be what it is. You guys would not be having the experience you're having in Pantheon right now if it weren't for PVL and the work they've done on the audio, if it weren't for Cody and the work he's done on the visual effects, if it weren't for Mark and Tim and David and the work they've done on the design front, be it NPC population, be it balance and, class tuning and NPC, development, be it crafting and gathering and all these things. But what's really funny about Cody and this whole thing is he's a huge anime fan too. And so when it comes to the visual effects for like chi burn and some of these things, I'm excited to see what he does for that. It's gonna be really fun. That's gonna be really fun. The question is when. I know, Biggs, and you have been patient. You have been patient. Can we make Dire Lord equal Bleach? That's the right kind of thinking right there. Oh, I know, Biggs. I know. Multiple capitalization in character names. Well, we will have surnames. So those of you that are familiar with EverQuest, you'll be familiar with that idea. The idea in Pantheon, in the same way, once you hit level 20, then you'll be able to, you can't do this currently, but you'll be able to give yourself a surname, a last name, essentially. And that's kind of meant to be a sign of prestige once you've hit level 20, if you choose to have one. And of course, you'll be able to capitalize that. But yeah, the whole, the idea of having multiple capitals, I don't know. We don't have that right now for a reason. I know it blocks some of you out of, some of the names that you typically use, but I think it just, there are places where it's appropriate, but a lot of times it just ends up being kind of like immersion breaking a little bit. My immersions ends up being my immersions. Brook Gorge Cleaver, nice name. Yeah, and that's it, Boggin. It's the monstrosities that it opens the door to, which is the problem more than anything. Professor Piss failed to log into stream or to Steam. Is my only option really to contact my ISP? I don't know. If you're a part of the Discord, my advice would be to post in the support channel and see if you can, if you haven't done that already, and see if you can get some specific help with that. Yeah, I definitely see titles being a thing. Shaverin, thank you for the Prime. Appreciate that. Fen, thank you so much, man. Thanks for the tier 1, the 8 months of support. Appreciate that very much. Criselli Blackstar, if I missed it, I apologize. Thank you for the Prime sub. I appreciate that. Cerulean, yeah, the guild tab, that's something else that we need to get in relatively soon, is that guild tab in social that lets you see like your guildies and who's online and whatnot. Yeah. Let's see if I can make this work real quick. Noffer with the raid. Thank you so much, Noffer. Appreciate that. Thank you for the sub. Thank you for the tier 1 Noffer. Appreciate the 4 months. Megabytes, thank you for the 4 months as well. Having a blast in the Joppa and crew. Keep up the great work. Thank you, thank you. Zek Skranik, thank you as well. Mr. Adam Zero as well with the subs. Thank you all so much. Appreciate that. When is the giant area going to open up in Wild's End? You mean like the other half of the giant area that's like higher elevation goes up behind Sorhirith, that area? I don't know. Will clerics get con scaling on buffs like shaman? Being able to stack con on a shaman feels so good. You better believe they will. Yes. Idrzikski, the plan is, yes, to eventually get to the point where we have a set day for patching, whether that's once a week, whether that's once every other week, whether that's, you know, maybe on Tuesdays. That seems to be a pretty common day. But yeah, that's the goal, is to get to that point. So you guys are know when to expect it for server maintenance and things like that too. Raydil, I'm not saying a word on when that flaming sword, where on how that is going to be attained. Is the warrior up to level 10 kit fleshed out at this point? Feels a little sparse on the way to 10. It does feel a little sparse. It's possible that there's a little bit of some like rearranging. It's possible. Yeah, I wouldn't rule that out for the warrior. Cortex, I do not know the answer to that. That specific question, I do not know. Gotta get the, looks like their rotation bone needs to be fixed. I can fix that easily. I don't know. Do you think you guys would want, would a Ratkin illusion item be something that would be, like, exciting to find? So cool. So cool. Even their little noises and stuff. Lots of collectibles, yes. Collectibles, shinies. How are the chests? Have you guys enjoyed the treasure chests and like the crates and stuff? Has that side of like the game and the exploration, has anyone gotten anything nice out of those? Nice. Good. Haven't seen one? Okay. I mean, that's a good thing, I think. They're not overloaded. Some of you, it looks like some of you have seen a lot of them, actually. Okay. Love to see more chests, yeah. Good. Good. I want that... I want chests to be really fun to find. I want the difference between like a crate and an actual treasure chest to be meaningful. Like when you see a treasure chest, you kind of expect different things out of it than you do with like just like a wooden crate or something like that. But to know that there's like a very small chance for something really, really good, I think is really cool. Really cool. Fade to Perfect. It's doing really well. It's doing well. I've said a few times today that it has exceeded expectations in a lot of ways. It's going to be a slow grow kind of thing, and that is what I expected and what we expected. But I think it's so good for the game. It's so good for the game to have more and more people able to play it for themselves, develop their own perspective on where the game's at, where it's going, be able to, be part of the development of the game, giving feedback, actively seeing it grow and improve and expand. I think it's going to be so incredibly healthy for the game. What will be the primary focus for the game after the holidays? Okay, great question. I would categorize it like this. Priority number one is fleshing out this current slice more fully. Making sure that, all of the areas that are meant to be accessible are accessible. Making sure they have the proper population. The population is tuned, balanced, itemized, making sure like from level 1 all the way to 40 that all of that is as polished as it can be. For the sake of really, fleshing out and finalizing this initial kind of slice. At the same time that's happening, there are two other things concurrently that are going to be happening. Number one is kind of internally gearing up for the next area that we want to make. the next part of the world, which is going to be Black Rose Keep. And then also is the kind of the tech side of things. So we want to update to Unity 6. There's a lot of performance updates. There's a ton of performance updates in Unity 6, probably most notably the real-time culling that Unity 6 has instead of the baked culling that we have to do right now. It sounds crazy to say it, but even this current version of Unity we're on does not have real-time culling in it. So, you know, I'm loading much more at one time than I should be, especially like underground areas and things like that. That should be nowhere near your camera or anywhere on screen. That's a huge performance upgrade. There's a lot of updates that we get with water and various things. Just a lot of optimizations that are going to make the performance of the game much, much better. So that's another thing that we're looking at is, you know, when to slot in some of those updates. But it's going to be primarily, you know, polishing out this current slice, getting Black Rose Keep production underway. And then for me, in addition to that, it's going to be getting kind of I want to get the Druid and the Bard in. And so it's going to be right at the top of the year. And in fact, I said it earlier too, I might start chipping away at some of the Druid stuff just as I get time over the Christmas kind of gap here. And then it'd be really cool to get Bard and Druid production underway, you know, as close to the top of the year as possible. So that's kind of and then yeah, the development roadmap. I know that's something that Rob's going to be working on, or is it Rob? Maybe it's Sam, one of the two. And I'll be feeding into that as well. But we want to get a roadmap. I mean, we're in a new era now. So for the Steam side of thing, for the growing community side of thing, being able to have a roadmap that is just giving everybody a clear sense of what's being worked on and what's coming next is going to be key. And then, yeah, hopefully growing the team a little bit. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Y'all aren't thinking of permanently taking out the Herode stuff, right? Just temporarily to get Druids. It's a maybe. It's a maybe. It's not a decision yet. It's not a definite yet, but it's a maybe. Yeah, just let me play 2025, the year of imminence. Every year from now on is the year of imminence. I think that's, yeah. Joppa, sorry if I've already asked, when will we see the next big update to the perception system? I would not expect a big update. I would expect steady, consistent updates on that front. Yeah. That may change if our team is able to grow a little bit and we can have, you know, ideally a dev who can like work really closely with me long enough to really understand the vision for it. And we have JN that, you know, is continually feeding into the narrative side of things, but when it comes to an actual like dev doing and moving the data, that will make that system go a lot faster. But until that happens, and in lieu of that happening, you know, for whatever period of time, just expect steady progress on that front instead of like big, massive updates. Which in some ways I'm kind of okay with. Like I view it similarly to itemization and rare itemization. Itemization is going to be flowing into this game, quests, rare stuff, cool stuff, all the time that you guys are going to have any idea about until someone finds it out. And I expect quests and perception to be very similar, where you're just going to be running around one day and all of a sudden like an NPC waves you down and says something to you. As a matter of fact, something I've been meaning to test real quick. The ability for our NPCs to respond, to animate and respond to your presence. Like they can respond to your presence, but I want to make sure they're animating. Oh, maybe it's because of him. Wait, I want to check something. Let's try it. Let's see. Hey, Slays, just thanks so much, man. Appreciate that. Playing EQ since '99. Game feels great. Thanks for keeping the dream alive, man. Thank you. Thank you all. Okay, interesting. So, I'm curious. Have you guys been seeing anybody respond to your presence, namely in Avelia? Look at this guy. Yeah, like that. So, other than whatever he's got going on. Okay, so that's... Is it because I'm a dark mirror? Is it because it's... Do you do it every time? Maybe not. Maybe you don't do it every time. See if these guys are working. Yeah, he's working. Okay, they're talking to each other good. See, this is the side of Pantheon that I'm willing to bet a lot of you guys, because the examples of it in game right now are so few and far between. There's probably a lot of you that don't know this whole side of things, as far as like NPC interaction, kind of the mechanics that make the world feel a little more lived in. That's a big part of kind of the underpass of work that's coming, which is just a whole nother new layer of the game that is going to drive into that classic-like depth. So that's something to be excited about if that's new on your radar. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with... Oh, maybe... Well, yeah. Sorry, I'm having all kinds of epiphanies here. I do want to fix this guy. This guy has been driving me crazy. The fact that he's floating off the ground. I'm going to fix him real quick, and then I am probably going to call it a day. And grab a little bite to eat and then kind of dig back in here. I want to say too, by the way, there are so many amazing streams that have been going on. You guys, for those of you that have been streaming the game, thank you so much for devoting time to do that. And the communities that you guys are fostering are so cool. It's so cool to see. There's really an amazing energy right now. And so much of that is just from you guys sharing the game with one another. And so thank you to those of you who've been doing that. It is much appreciated. But if you're new to this channel, my goal from week to week, it's been a little weird with EA and then, Christmas time coming up. So it's not going to be like super regimented and scheduled like I would like for it to be. But the general schedule of my stream is Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, starting between 2 and 3 p.m. Eastern, 11 and 12 Pacific. Would love to see you guys here. And I usually post on Twitter if I'm going to be going live, trying to give you guys a heads up. But just want to say thank you again so much for you all being here today. This was amazing. Like having so many of you in here, so cool. So thankful, really fun, and we'll be back to do it again soon. I'm gonna find somebody that I can raid. I don't know how many of you guys are planning on sticking around, but it's always a lot of fun, especially now, to drop like 600 people. And I try to switch it up a little bit and not always go to the same people, and especially people who don't have a whole lot of viewership going on. Let me just see what we got. Let me see. All right. Let's I have never seen Achilles Reborn. It's a new name to me, so we're gonna go with Achilles. Achilles, if you're in the channel, hold on to your butt because it's coming. And if you guys would not mind, give him some love. If you're planning on sticking around, make a lot of noise. Hold on a sec. Okay. All right, yeah. Here we go. Achilles Reborn. I'm gonna get the raid going. Guys, thank you again so much for hanging out today. Thank you for all of the love and support for Pantheon. And I'm gonna keep cooking. But until then, hopefully tomorrow, I will see you guys soon. Take care. Adios. I went ahead and awkwardly said bye while I'm still cooking the raid, so we're just gonna hang here together for a second. You know how it is. I think we're ready. Take care, all. Adios.